Any favorites?
6 to 5.
6 to 5.
Yes. 6 to 5.
Higher grade, 6 to 5. I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day, still praying as I onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and I shall stand by faith on heaven's stable land. A higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. My heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. Though some may dwell where these abound, my prayer, my aim is higher ground. Lord, lift me up and I shall stand by faith on heaven's stable land. A higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to live above the world. Though Satan's stars at me are hurled, for faith has caught the joyful sound, the song of saints on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and I shall stand by faith on heaven's stable land. A higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to scale the utmost height and catch a gleam of glory bright. But still I pray till heaven I found. Lead me unto higher.
It says, the Saviors are here. Exodus 15:26. Estamos en vivo aquí en Wonderfully Made para traerles temas de salud y de la Biblia. En estos últimos días necesitamos prepararnos para la venida de nuestro Salvador, comiendo saludable y estudiando la Biblia, comiendo lo que el Señor nos manda. Aquí en su canal vamos a comenzar y entrar en este canal de salud.
Santos del Padre Celestial, ya es tiempo de hacer una reforma y vivir solo para Él. Te entrego mi ser, como Padre eterno, te lo entrego a tus pies. Solo quiero vivir para ti.
welcome Elder Satya to say a word of prayer before we start.
Let's bow our heads. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, I want to thank you again for this afternoon session that you have brought us. We enjoyed the message this morning, and we want to continue to learn how to treat our body that would glorify your name. Help us to learn things that we can practice and teach others as well. We want to be healthy, free of sickness, Lord. And you have promised us that if we follow your directions. And again, this afternoon we are here to learn about him. I pray that you bless Dr. Bruno as he presents us the message. Give him the insight and bless him abundantly. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
So we shall be hearing from Dr. Joseph Bruno about how we can keep our digestive organ healthy and strong. Because most of us, we deplete our gastric flora, so we end up not digesting the food properly, and we end up having a lot of issues. So we will hear from him so we can learn from him new insights about digestive health. Thank you.
Happy Sabbath, church. Today we are going to go into a voyage that's a little bit complicated. So I want you to put on your seatbelts. Seatbelts fastened. And before that, I would like to play special music with the violin. ask my mom to have the prayer again.
I'm going to pray in Spanish, you're going to pray in English.
Okay. Translation. Okay. Share the microphone.
Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos,
Dear Father in the heavens above,
exaltamos tu nombre en esta tarde,
we exalt your name in this afternoon
porque tú estás presente en este lugar.
because you're present in this place.
Y te pedimos una bendición muy especial para todos los que estamos aquí en este lugar.
We ask for a very special blessing for everyone here present in this place.
Que tú nos limpies nuestra mente y nuestro corazón
That may you clean our hearts and our minds.
y nos lave con tu sangre preciosa
And may you wash us with your holy blood.
y entremos en el santuario
And may you go inside your sanctuary
por la sangre de tu Hijo amado, por el camino nuevo que nos abriste a través del velo que es tu carne.
through the blood of the Holy Lamb, whose flesh is the curtain that allows us entry into the holy place.
Como dice en Hebreo 10:19.
As Hebrews 10:19 states.
Gracias por la misericordia que tú has tenido para con nosotros como pueblo.
We give thanks for the mercy you have for us as a people.
La misericordia que llena la tierra, porque tú, nosotros siendo malos, tú nos llenaste de tu presencia.
The mercy that you have for us, O Lord, as your mercy covers the whole land.
Te pedimos que esté presente como invitado de honor en este lugar.
We ask that you be present in this place as a exalted invitation.
Gracias por tu presencia.
We give thanks for
Muchas
your
gracias.
presence.
Perdona mis faltas en el nombre de tu Hijo amado.
We ask forgiveness for our sins. In the name of your Son, we ask these things.
Así
In
sea.
Yeshua. Amen. A little bilingual. Today we're going to talk about the digestive system. A little crisper? Okay, so we're going to go into what is the digestive system? That's the question I asked you, and we're going to tighten our seatbelts. We're all ready? Okay, let's hope so. Let's hope it goes. There we go. We're going to hear, we have Elias' letter to Aram. 2 Chronicles 21:15. 2 Chronicles 21:15. We're going to find that the Bible also has the digestive system. 2 Chronicles 21:15. And thou shalt have great sickness by disease of thy bowels, until thy bowels fall out by reason of thy sickness day by day. It's similar to what we call a relapse, colon relapse, where we have the colon right here. This is a sagittal cut, like cutting someone right in the middle. And this is where we see this is a female or a male. Oh, wow. Good, that's right. You're right. Because here we have the ovaries. You see them right here? So it's a female. And the uterus. And the bladder. But we have a prolapse when the colon begins, anus begins to come out. And this is what the Lord said in 2 Chronicles 21:15. A disease of the bowels is a colon, what we call rectal prolapse. Numbers 23:19 says, the Creator is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. He has said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Maybe we get a little bit more volume on this one, so it'll be easier for me to talk. Thank you. This is something very astonishing. What is this? This is a colon that is about 28 pounds. It's like a fairly large child, maybe a toddler. So what happened was that this is the colon. The colon is separated into three sections for the most part. We have colon ascending, we have transverse, and descending colon. Ascending basically means it goes up, and the other one goes horizontal, and the other one goes down. But this individual had a Hirschsprung's disease, which is basically an issue where we see over here the rectum and the anus is the hole, and the rectum is the small part of what we call the sigmoid colon, where the descending colon is. It's very thin. Can you see it there? In this case, instead of being normal as this is, any tube that you have very small is like in your home. When you have a drain, and the drain gets clogged, what happens? Everything gets backed up. So this is what's called backed up. This person was, I think, 21 years old and had this condition for all their life, and they had to remove this part of the colon. Is actually this whole lower part. The sigmoid colon began to grow very large, and it's 28 pounds. Mega colon. We're going to do a little investigation here of what is the digestive. Can you all see it well there? Okay, hope I'm not blocking you guys from the left. We're going to go through the digestive system, part by part. Are we ready? Yes! Okay, hopefully. Come on, we got to put the battery. Charge, recharge. So you know what happens sometimes? I'm going to explain to you why we feel a little tired. So what happens is that when we eat our dinner or our lunch or our breakfast, we eat a lot of cooked food. Where we have rice, we have beans, and spaghetti. And when we sit in this very comfortable seats that we have here in the church, you begin to doze off a little bit. We're going to do a little exercise later on, okay? But right now, we're not doing it until we go through this. And what happens when we consume a lot of basically cooked meals or cooked foods, we don't have the energy because we have to use a lot of calories in order to digest that food. A lot of blood, because the blood has to go to the intestine in order to digest all that food. That's why sometimes when you're swimming in the pool and you can't eat before you go swimming because you get cramps. That's the issue with circulation. But over here, we're going to go through this little apple. What color is the apple? Green. Sure? Yeah. Not very convinced. Yes, green apple, okay? The green apple's going to go and it's going to touch, what's the first thing it touches? Mouth. Okay, everything is there. I'm going to ask you once I pass this slide, okay? So pay attention. Mouth is the first thing that touches. The next thing is these glands, the salivary glands. Basically, to throw what we call saliva. Something is called amylase, is to digest carbs. So in the mouth, we begin to chew, and then we have saliva. Chew. How many times should we chew our foods? Okay, no, 30 times. Yeah, a little bit more. But who's going to be counting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 25, 28, 29. One more. 30. Okay, so we arrived to 30 chews. We're okay. We could swallow. Now the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can't be counting all that. So what we do is we try to chew the food the best way possible. And we try to make when we chew, not to swallow right away. When we have very large pieces still in our mouth, we have to chew that all the food becomes a bolus almost, which we call a very, we're going to talk about that later on in the presentation. First step is the mouth. Second, the glands. It's going to go through a tube. What's the name of the tube? Okay, good. We're good. We know. We have our seatbelts on. Where is it going to go next? Where is the stomach located? Right-hand side or left-hand side? So how we know? We're going to find out. You can do this experiment at home. You swallow water. And when you swallow water, you can feel sometimes the water rushing down to your stomach. So you'll feel it on the left-hand side. And sometimes if you consume cold water, which I don't recommend too many times, but if you consume water that's very cold, you can actually feel it on the left-hand side. Because your body has to reheat that juice, that water, or whatever you drink that was cold, to make it body temperature. Because your body cannot absorb something that's not body temperature. What's the name of the tube? Esophagus. Very good. And then after that, we go to the stomach. It's found on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we find a very important organ. It's called the liver. A lot of people suffer from cirrhosis, from non-alcoholic fatty liver. We have fatty liver as well, alcoholic fatty liver from drinking a lot of alcohol. But also, if we consume a lot of sweets, we can actually make our body have a fatty liver and then eventually have cirrhosis. And then eventually you can have hepatic carcinoma as well. So we have over here the stomach. The next tube is the small intestine, separated into 3 parts. What are the 3 parts? We're going to go through them later on. It's called duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. And we have all these organs fabulously placed by the Lord. You know, these tubes are very large, but God designed us perfectly. Amen for that. After that, we go into the intestine and we go into those three sections, and the food goes somewhere else. Where does it go? It goes to the large intestine to be stored until a later date. Either a week or a day, a few months. It could be sometimes constipated for years. Storing, we're going to see these pictures later on. I said we have to tighten our seatbelts. Fastened. Okay? If some an image is very nasty or a little bit not pleasant, I would advise you, okay, before it comes. But it's not terrible. This is what's happening right now in your body. We just ate food. What time? About 1 o'clock. Food is right now is in your stomach for about 2 to 3 hours. By the time you finish this presentation, this food is going to be in your small intestine. And hopefully it goes out of your body by tomorrow at about 1 p.m. Be looking for it. It's going to be found in your later on. No, I'm serious. We have to know what we throw out. Why? Because sometimes we consume our food and we don't analyze. We just eat. And we could go to the bathroom and say, I didn't eat corn today. How's there corn? It's been there. I had corn a week ago. How is there corn? Because you have constipation. Very serious issue. If we take care of our colon, we may never suffer from serious illnesses because the colon is very important. Food starts in the mouth. Actually, it starts in the eyes. There's new studies that show that when you think about the food, even the brain, your favorite dish. For example, if I say I have a chocolate cake right here in front. Just thinking about it, you're ready to say, oh, chocolate, it has that smell. If you like chocolate, if you don't like chocolate, maybe vanilla, the vanilla smell. This is very serious. God says that even in the scripture it mentions, I did not mention this in the sermon, but even Jacob purchased his firstborn right through a plate of food. So food is very important. I did not go too in depth, but we're having a little bit. But next we're going to go into the mouth, glands, stomach, intestines, pancreas. Pancreas is very important too for all these digestive enzymes. Many people suffer from bad digestion, indigestion. Pancreas is very important. Also, pancreas is very important for acidity because it secretes bicarbonate to help neutralize the acidity from the stomach. Over here we have someone that's with their stomach. So over here we have the digestive system. We're going to go through it. Pay attention, please. We have the mouth, the glands, the esophagus, the stomach, the intestine, separated into 3 parts. And we have the liver, we have the pancreas, and we have the colon. The digestive system which can be made up of 30 feet long in adults, generally divided into 8 parts: mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, also called colon, with liver, pancreas, gallbladder, adding secretions to aid digestion. These 6 bodies are combined to perform 6 tasks, which are called ingestion. Repeat with me, ingestion. Next is propulsion, pushing the food down the tube. Chemical digestion, okay? We're all following, right? Up to now. What's the first one? Second? Next? Okay, and after that is mechanical digestion or physical digestion. Absorption and defecation, which is what we throw later on in the afternoon. How many feet is in the whole digestive system? 30 feet. Okay, we're paying attention. Very good. In the beginning, Genesis 3:6. Someone could be so kind to read this for me, please.
And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took off the fruit thereof.
Thank you for that. Over here we have the woman saw. She activated this part of her brain. Mundula Blagara used to say those words. It might be a tongue twister for many. But this part of the brain, when it tastes or smells food, it begins to secrete stomach acid. Over here we see a gastrin. First it activates the nerves, sends the signals to the stomach begins to start digestion. God made us this way so that when we're about to eat, our body begins to produce and get ready for all the food, because digestion is a very hard task. That's why we cannot eat so many times a day. That's why we can't eat 5 times a day, or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 times a day. Because it's a very difficult, it's a very heavy load on the body. That's why we feel tired sometimes when we eat. Very sleepy. How about now? How are we feeling? Let's stand up and do the exercise now. Let's try that. We're going to stand up and activate our body. We have to bring more oxygen. So we're going to breathe in through the nose, let out through the mouth, and we're going to count. So I'm going to say, how many times have we gone so far? You're going to say 1, 2, or whatever, and I'm going to say how many are left. We're going to do it 7 times, okay? 1, 2, 3. How many have gone by? 1. How many are left? 6. How many have gone by?
2.
How many are left? 5. How many have gone by?
3.
How many are left?
4.
Sure? Okay. How many are left?
3.
How many have gone by? That's tongue twisted. Are you paying attention on the top, I guess, up there as well? With the breath, breathing? Okay, good. How many have gone by?
5.
How many are left?
5.
2. Let's do it again. How many have gone by? 6. How many are left? 1. How many have gone by?
7.
How many are left?
0.
0. There we go. That's how it makes you seated. We did our exercise. Now that we have more oxygen, our body is a little bit more alert. We're ready to run a marathon, right? We're all ready? We all got our shoes ready to run a marathon?
Okay.
But we're running a marathon right now.
Oh, yes.
The book of Timothy says, run the marathon of the faith.
Amen.
So we're running a marathon right now, not a sprint, a marathon. What are we running? Okay, right here. So we have a tongue, sometimes not very pleasing to see, but this is the tongue. The tongue is split into how many different tastes we have? We're going to go through it. Genesis 3, 6 and 7 says, and did eat, she ate, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made aprons. It's a little bit of a tricky question because I didn't put the 5th one that is there. Yeah. Oh, wow. Good. You know. This is bitter, sour, salty, sweet. That's 4. And the one in the middle is umami. As a Chinese food, sometimes you get Asian food that has this we call monosodium glutamate, which is basically very dangerous to consume. Food in the mouth. These are all called amino acids. What are they called? So amino acids form a protein. So when you think we need protein, the real thing is you need amino acids, because if you have protein you can't digest it. It's like basically consuming something that you cannot digest, and it's basically not going to do anything in your body. We have different amino acids with different tastes. For example, we have sweet amino acids that sometimes are used for sugar, artificial sweeteners. We have also bitter amino acids that give that bitter taste, and we have umami, which is aspartate and glutamate. So this is the wise proverb 23:2. Can you read that for me, please? So if you have a very strong appetite and you say, I can't stop eating this, I need it, I'm diabetic, but I can't stop eating sugar. You have to put, what does that mean? A sword, basically a knife in your mouth. Does it hurt when you put a knife in your mouth? Obviously. So that means that even though there's a little pain in the beginning, you actually receive large benefits. But you have to close your mouth sometimes to prevent. Very wise. You know, actually the book of Proverbs actually mentions how to take care of your money. It actually says, do not invest large portions of money in places. Invest little by little, because the one who reaps little by little will sow a great crop. Forget where that's found, but it's in the book of Proverbs, if I'm mistaken, chapter 18. If you thought there were 4 basic flavors, you're actually wrong. It's 5. There's sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. These are all the different foods that have different tastes. Very interesting that we have bitter melon. Whoever's come to me before and has sugar issues, I usually recommend bitter melon. Very good for diabetics because it helps with insulin. Bitter melon, fenugreek, those type of things. Unami, uma means delicious. Mi means flavor. It's the size. It's the taste that comes from the salts combined glutamate and these sodium ions, which produce monosodium glutamate or sometimes potassium items. Sometimes seafood also has this taste. We call umami. Umami. So we see over here we have a little baby. I'm going to see if he's happy or sad or angry. He's consuming something sweet. He's so-so. He's not very happy. Something sour like a lemon. Not really very happy. He's like a little bit moody. You can see the eyes, the nose. Here's worse. You can see bitter. He's making that's very bitter. This is like dandelion. This is like lemon. This is like honey. But right now we're going to go into how strong umami actually is. You can see over here, he's not too happy, but when you give him this flavor of umami, he's very happy. Breast milk actually has a lot of glutamate in it after 7 days after birth because God wants the baby to eat. So it's going to give him something that's very pleasing to eat. This is a very nice smile. This is what we call Colgate smile. This is called gingivitis. We have swollen gums. Vitamin C is very beneficial. Flossing is also very beneficial as well. Ositis. It's like if you could do you have an ice skating ring in your tongue. You can see the tongue, and this yellow that's over here, we have to try to clean Candida. Candida is a lady that is difficult to get rid of. Because all of us here present, all of us have Candida in our guts. But when it gets out of the guts and it goes to different places, we have issues. Yeast infection, females know about that. Yeast infection is very difficult, but there's a lot of natural remedies for that. Sip baths of vinegar is very good, also other things. Colitis is a very not pleasing view. Everyone has gotten this before, like a cut in the side of your mouth. These two are very important with, I didn't mention what's very important with these, but this one is very important, vitamin B12. This one is very important that we call sometimes riboflavin and sometimes which is vitamin B2. And other vitamins such as vitamin C will be beneficial for that, and as well as this, vitamin C. We have also sometimes cold sore versus canker sore. One is contagious, one is not. You can see the image on the top and the bottom. Usually the one on the bottom is caused by when you bite your mouth or your lips. You end up having that. Vitamin C is very beneficial. There's certain amino acids, such as lysine, that's very good for that as well. But those usually, what is the difference? Cold sores are contagious. Canker sores are not. Canker sore, cold sore. They can be painful. They're both very painful. Whoever's had both of them are very painful. This one is outside, one is inside the mouth. The one is a single blister, one is multiple blisters. Symptoms can be treated with different ointments and balms. Essential oils are very good as well. Essential oils, we know our essential oils a little bit? Yeah. Essential oils, always very important tea tree oil, but not pure, because if you put pure tea tree oil on your lips, you'll be burning. But there's you could do combinations. There's dilutions that are very beneficial. Oil is oil, so oil dilutes with oil. What does that mean? If we have salad dressing, can you take olive oil and combine it with water?
No.
Doesn't mix.
No, it doesn't.
So that's the same thing with vitamins. The same thing with essential oils. If you have a fat-soluble vitamin, which are vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are the 4 fat-soluble vitamins, you need to consume it with meals. If you have water-soluble vitamins, you consume it in between meals. Difference between fat and water-soluble. This is a very nice tongue. What do you think? It needs a cleaning, no? They did a test, a group of dietitians did a test with a few couples. I think it was 10 couples. They took the group of 10 couples and they changed their diet. In the morning, when they would talk with each other, they said, "Oh, your breath stinks, please brush your teeth." And then what they did was they changed their diet and they noticed that their breaths were actually a lot more pleasing. So that bad breath actually went away. So they changed the diet and then they woke up in the morning. It was like, "Hello, good morning," and they were a little bit more pleasing with each other. Now we're going to go through the swallowing phases. We have to chew and we have to swallow properly. How do we chew and swallow properly? We have to try our best to consume and swallow properly. Over here we can see we have the preparatory transit pharyngeal, esophageal. Basically, chew, swallow. The reflex of swallowing brings what? Down. The food. Down through the esophagus into your stomach. This is what we call bolus. And now we're going to go into the stomach. Are we ready for the stomach? I think we are. Over here we have the stomach. The stomach is very... At first sight you may think, oh, it's just a container to hold food. But it's actually more than that. Anyone who has suffered of GERD, or basically a reflux of food coming from your mouth, knows it's a very difficult situation. This little thing that's right here is sphincter. It's like a little contraction, prevents the food from going up. It's very acid. If we take hydrochloric acid, which is found in the stomach, and we put it straight through this floor, we actually would make a hole. Hydrochloric acid is very dangerous in its pure state. When we were in the labs, we actually had to put special gloves to hold on to hydrochloric acid. There's other acids that are a little bit stronger than hydrochloric, but hydrochloric is a pretty potent acid. But God put it there so we could digest protein. Protein digestion begins in the stomach. Carbohydrate digestion begins in the mouth. So we're going to begin with the temple of the Holy Spirit. What is our temple of the Holy Spirit?
Body.
Our body. So if we have a temple of the Holy Spirit, before it used to be the Temple of Solomon. Very beautiful building. Was there garbage in the front of the Temple of Solomon?
No.
Was there, did they just walk in with however way they wanted to, with dirty shoes or whatever? Or was it very precautious how they would take care of the temple? Actually, the people in the Lord's time, he said, "Don't you see these big buildings that we have here?" And he says, "I tell you very surely, there shall not be a stone there shall not be a stone left unturned." So God wants us to take care of our body. We can't put garbage in our body. We have to put healthy things that make our body have energy. 1 Corinthians 6:13 says, "Meat for the belly, and the belly for meat, but the Lord shall destroy both it and them. Now the body is not for fornication, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body." A A mistake that we do in many cultures, going to the Hispanic culture, Asian culture, whatever culture we have, South America, North America, the Caribbean, we have in Africa, Europe, Asia. Many have the custom of drinking water with food. You're thirsty, drink water. Always, when you go to the restaurant, what's the first thing they do? A cup of water. Would you like anything to drink, ma'am? Or, sir? Would you like some water? Yes, please, give me some water. When we have water, there's a woman in our stomach, she's called pepsin. What's her name? Pepsin. She doesn't like to be bathed, so we can't put water where she is. What's her name? Okay. And when you put water with pepsin, she actually leaves and she doesn't do her job. Our stomach produces pepsinogen, which is basically activated by HCl, which is what? Hydrochloric acid. We have a lot of scientists here. We should start a lab right now, but we don't have the lab right here present. But actually the job of pepsin is to digest proteins from their protein complexes to peptides and proteases. And we can see all these complicated scenarios that God does for us, and we don't have to worry about stomach, please release hydrochloric acid. Shh. Stomach, please activate pepsin. We don't have to think about all this, right? How about breathing? Do we think about breathing? No. Right now you are thinking about breathing, though, because I just mentioned it. Yeah. Are you breathing? Yes. It's something that we call, our body has involuntary and voluntary movement. So it breaks down the stomach. We have here, we call amino acid right here. This is protein. Protein is very complicated. You can see it looks like a blob of a bunch of red and gray dots. It turns to peptides and to amino acids. Stomach, intestine, and digestive glands produce various enzymes, including pepsin and acid. These acids and enzymes need to change food to a semi-liquid form. And starch, fat, and protein must be broken down to smaller chemical units that can be absorbed into the bloodstream through the gut wall. Digestion is a big process. We're just getting started. But usually we just went through it, right? The mouth. We have to learn how to chew our food. Correct? How many times do you chew our food? At least. You can sometimes say, some people, to make it a little easier, you can sing happy birthday when you're chewing your food. But when you wash your hands, they say also say happy birthday. It's easier to memorize, but what you can do is basically chew your food to the best of your ability so you can chew it, that it becomes a bolus, like a ball, and then when you swallow, it's easy to swallow. Pepsin is very important, I just mentioned it. These are the amino acids. You see all the little arrows that I put? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thank God you guys don't have to memorize that today. Imagine if you have to memorize the amino acids. I remember when I had to do it. We have a few of them that we call limited and essential and non-essential amino acids. So we're going to go into that a little bit. Non-essential and essential amino acids. This is why God wants us to eat a variety of food. Why? There's certain foods that don't have, for example, histidine. There's certain foods that don't have valine, tryptophan. Tryptophan is very important. At another point in time, we could talk about how there's certain amino acids that have to do with our emotions. That's why some people, when they consume a lot of meat, they become very aggressive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Usually the best way to treat someone who's a schizophrenic is to give them a plant-based diet. It actually calms them down a little bit. And there's many weird things that they've done with people with schizophrenia. They actually have disconnected the frontal lobe to try to alleviate their symptoms, which is actually very dangerous because the frontal lobe, once you remove it, your personality completely changes. But they actually did that at one point in time. They don't do that anymore. Over here we have essential, non-essential amino acids. Again, I mentioned them again. We have histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan, valine. Phenylalanine is easier to say in Spanish than in English. But 20 what amino acids are commonly found in protein. The table shows the list. Essential, non-essential amino acids. The easy way to remember is Vincent's lovely mother took him to London in a pram. Prom. It was actually pram. We can see here valine, lysine, methionine, tryptophan, histidine in children. Thyrine, no. Threonina. Threonine, leucine, isoleucine, arginine, and phenylalanine. So we can see here, there are certain foods that actually have limited amino acids and the foods that complement it. For example, they usually recommend rice and beans. Why? Because rice complement each other because they have limiting tryptophan and methionine. So then legumes will actually combine well. We can see there's a big list over here. I can't zoom in right now, but we can see the bottom part is actually pumpkin seeds. Actually have a lot of protein. Pumpkin seeds should not be consumed a lot by females because it actually affects testosterone. So it's not recommended to consume it a lot for females. Hemp seed I don't recommend too much because hemp seed has a little bit of THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana. Yes. And we have lentils, pecans, we have walnuts, we have quinoa, we have even brown rice. All these things have protein. When was the last time you saw someone in the hospital because they didn't eat too much protein? Never, right? Because it doesn't exist. Well, it does exist in certain patients. For example, if you have renal issues, if you're suffering from malnutrition, all these things. But the most common, if you eat and you consume food, it's very difficult to find someone that is protein deficient. You still see it sometimes, yeah, but the common person, yeah, the children, yeah. I'm sorry? Which one? No, the only nut that usually has male hormones is usually pumpkin seeds. It stimulates testosterone. But usually there's other nuts. There's walnuts, there's cashews, there's almonds. It's very important to soak your seeds, not to eat them dry. Very important soaking.
Oh.
Have a question back there?
No, I don't know. Are we supposed to wait to the end or like?
I think it's improvised, so I already allowed one, so I guess you could have one as well.
Okay, not really a question, more of a comment. So I learned in school there are scores for different foods that have perfect amino acids. I don't remember. I think one is you give it a score of one and it has all the essential
Amino acids.
meaning that your body can't create these yourself. You
Mhm.
have to eat them. And one that has a perfect score of one is eggs, right? Which always confused me. But I also found out that potatoes have a perfect score of one as well. So potatoes have all these essential amino acids. So that's a plant-based very alternative to the egg. I didn't know you were
Oh, it's okay. The very interesting thing is, in this morning I mentioned about eggs and I didn't explain why. But I'm going to go into a little bit. Let's see, do you have a comment?
No, what I want to say, if you investigate, when you use a sprout, that has a perfect amino acid. Because when you sprout the grain, it becomes a new life. And then it has the 20 amino acid or one protein. That's a perfect amino acid, the sprout. That God says we could consume. And even, what I want to tell everybody is that he's a vegan from my womb. He born vegan from me. And he never has any problem with the teeth or with the blood. You know, he never had anemia in all his life. And what you have to do is that you have to learn how to put the things together, you know, that give you good, don't change your diet if you don't know how to do it. Because it's gonna be a problem and you're gonna say, oh, this diet, you know, that God's put in there is not perfect. But he's always perfect. He said, you're gonna eat this and this is gonna be good for your body. Because he made our body. So when he born, my husband that he's not Adventist, he say, oh, this boy is not gonna be good. You're gonna have a sick child. Because I didn't eat no meat. So I was praying and tell everybody to pray for me because I was the beginning of the until now, he's had a vegan diet. It doesn't, it's a blessing, because he wants to give you health, and he wants to give you understanding in your work. And that's what I want to say. And I praise the Lord for that.
I'm going to explain what I was trying to explain then. Well, maybe let the sister go. Go, sister.
Huh?
Go, sister.
No, I don't want to deviate too far off topic. I had a question, but
Okay, we'll leave maybe the question to the end, because then it gets a little confusing. And how much time we have? I think we have, how long? Until you guys go out? I don't know. You have to go. Or there's still time. There's still time. We can go for, I've spoken usually like for 5 hours even, but please do not bombard. We won't bombard today, you guys. We won't bombard you guys today with so much information. But we're going to make it precise. The issue with protein is that we have amino acids. This is the key. Eggs are complete protein because they are made for the baby. They're made to produce a perfect location for, we call the chick. So it has to have all the amino acids. Same with meat. Meat has to have all the amino acids because it's the human body. For example, if we take a human body, they're gonna have all the amino acids. Doesn't mean I have to eat human flesh to get amino acids. I don't know if you understand a little. So the body has to be a complete protein. So even chickens, all type of meat has to have a complete protein. But the secret is that certain studies have shown that this animal protein is actually inflammatory. What does that mean? It actually causes an inflammatory response. If you have someone with Crohn's disease or we call irritable bowel disease, they would actually, when you give them meat, the body will actually attack itself and produce very horrible symptoms. Usually we won't stop eating meat either if something horrible happens to us, if we're really strong meat eaters. Like for example, I've seen people that are very strong meat eaters and they have cancer, or they have different illnesses, and all of a sudden they say, that's it, no more, I want to live my life, and I won't do it anymore. And that's what usually, hopefully it doesn't call that to have a disease in order to change our diet. Usually I recommend at least 1 day without any animal products, at least. If you could do a whole week, praise God. But it's best to have at least starting 1 day without animal products. No cheese, no eggs, you won't die. I haven't, thank the Lord I'm still alive today, and I haven't needed it. Supplementation, usually they recommend what we call vitamin B12, but a lot of the issues that we don't plant our own plants. If we would plant potatoes, what we call beets, there's actually studies that show that based on the bacteria found in the soil would actually produce enough vitamin B12. Because vitamin B12 actually comes from bacteria. It doesn't come from it comes from the soil, and we have depleted our soil because we haven't followed God's statute. What does God's statute say? Yes, who said that? Wow, praise the Lord, that's it, yeah. 7 years, the rest of 7 years. And every 50 years you have to rest the soil, you have to interchange the soil. Wow, that's pretty good. That's the first time I asked and it came through, good job. Praise the Lord. The Holy Spirit usually gives us a lot to say. So we can see here all the different amino acids that were called limiting amino acids. And we can see over here we have pinto beans, we have broccoli, we have carrots, we have oats, we have cucumbers, celery, lettuce, corn, green peppers, potatoes, tomatoes, brown rice. Please, if you eat corn, please consume it organic. Corn is actually 96% genetically modified. So we have to be very careful with corn. You know why this happened? Because actually the United States of America had a lot of land. And they would say, farmers, we're going to pay you money to plant. So what did they plant? Corn. And corn began to rise because they wanted to produce gasoline from corn. And so they genetically modified it, and now we have very sweet corn, but it's very damaging for our bodies. Over here we have the stomach again. We have these beans, or red lentil beans. And over here we have a plate of steak. This is, I think, not medium rare. This is maybe well cooked, well done. So it won't be as terrible, right? We can see all these amino acids are here, the ones that are color coded, you can see them here. These are the essential, and the ones in the bottom, if I can read right, is required for infants and growing children. Because when you're going through infancy, you actually need amino acids, very important. I grew, I'm still alive, okay? So you can live on a plant-based diet by the grace of God. Yeah. But definitely over here, we could see lentils and red, not red lentils. This is red lentils, this is red meat. So you can see all these amino acids that are here. You can see in the bottom we have the red wins in mostly all the categories except 2, because the amino acids found in them are actually pretty high. This is red, raw pink lentils compared to 100 grams, which is a pretty large amount of red lentils, but that's why we have to have variation. We have incomplete and complete proteins. We have chia seeds, actually complete protein. We have buckwheat. We have amaranth, which is another grain. We have blue green algae. Hemp seed, as I mentioned, I don't recommend too much personally. The THC, and also it's not very beneficial for men. It brings down the sperm count, yeah. So that's why I wouldn't recommend it for men mostly because of that, because of THC. It has very about, I think it's 1% or 2%, but try to take care of the body. These are the top 10 foods that have 100 grams protein sources. We have here peanuts. I usually don't recommend, whoever's come to me before, I don't recommend peanuts too much, because peanuts, if you go to a factory, it's actually a lot of saturated fat, but besides that, they permit a certain amount of rat droppings in peanut butter. Yeah, they can't control the rats. It's very difficult to control rats with peanuts. Exactly, that too. That the pesticides, all these things. Peanuts usually are inflammatory too. If you have cholesterol, they'll pick it up too as well. Here's a simple chart. This is daily protein needs based on kilograms and pounds. This is usually the general is 0.8, but you can see here is different numbers. There's the RDA chart. I think this is the RDA. No, this is not. This is also general by weight. Athletes usually need a little bit more protein, but there's certain studies that show you can even live on at least 36.36 grams of protein a day. It all depends on how active you are. If you're doing strength training, sports, endurance, but always when you increase protein, you increase inflammation, because protein is inflammatory. So we have to be careful with protein. How much protein does a chicken breast have? 60. 60 grams of protein in chicken breast. Yeah, it's a pretty big chunk. It's an interesting, yeah, it is. I have it in the chart. The ones that come to my office, I usually show the protein source. This is iron. How much iron do we need? Iron, we can see over here, it goes, sorry. We have to be careful with teas, which not any tea, but black tea and green tea, because they calcium inhibits iron absorption. So we have spinach, we have, we call molasses, has a lot of iron. We have all these type of greens are full of iron. Everything is fortified, enriched, so that usually has iron. But we have to take care of increasing our iron consumption. Females obviously are going to need more iron because we have, not we, I'm not included in that group. Females have what? Menstrual cycle, there we go. So obviously you need more iron. Iron. And iron and calcium fight with each other for absorption. That's why cow's milk is very difficult to absorb iron from cow's milk, because there's so much calcium and the high protein as well. Anyone's ever heard of intrinsic factor before? Oh, you have? Oh, great. What's intrinsic factor? B12, exactly. So, right here it says it facilitates absorption of vitamin B12. It needs the parental cells, chief cells, the mucus cells are all different ones that produce different secretions. The same cell that produces hydrochloric acid produces intrinsic factor. Very interesting to know. So what is this? So you see your food and your body basically sends a signal to your stomach, I'm hungry, give me food, and all of a sudden it sends a signal back, you're full. It's like an on and off switch. If you turn the lights on, the lights come on. If you turn the lights off, the lights go off. So if you are hungry and you have a lot of desire to eat, there's ways of, we would say, tricking your brain to believe that you're hungry or full. One of the ways, if you're very hungry, is to use small plates. Don't use very large plates. Because if you use small plates, you're going to fit, hey, I'm full. Because your body is going to trick itself by visuals. So here's basically the lumen of the stomach. We can see that as well. What can we do to improve GERD? It is gastroesophageal reflux disease. I mentioned before, reflux of acid. Very difficult. Avoid smoking. Hopefully, as a Saturday Adventist, we don't smoke. But sometimes we take secondhand smoking from others. So you have to be careful with that. And sometimes we smoke involuntary with barbecue, because barbecue also has a lot of, yes. Right here, it says, avoid smoking and being around secondhand smoke. Maintain a healthy weight. Eat smaller meals. Try to move around a little after you eat. It's very important to also walk. It's very important also not to sleep right after you go to sleep right after you eat, because your body's obviously going to throw the food again. Yeah. Avoid tight clothing around your middle. Very important also not to put too tight around the stomach area. So this is basically the stomach separated into different parts. We have gastritis. What can we do for gastritis? We're going to do some brain, not twisters. What can we do if someone has gastritis? What do you recommend? First, we have to think. We're going to be medical missionaries. First, we have to think. We have to ask, what is gastritis? What is tendinitis? So itis, what does it mean? Okay, so we know right away this is inflammation of what? Okay, so what's the first thing you have to do? Take away the inflammation. It's that simple. If you have the stomach inflamed, you have to take away inflammation, exactly. And what are the foods that cause inflammation? Yes, high protein. Because if you produce fried food too, a little bit. But what we have to think about, you see this area, you see all the red that is there? When something's inflamed, for example, you cut your finger, it's going to turn red because your body's going to give an inflammatory response to say, hey, pay attention to your finger and fix it. So your body's going to begin to produce more circulation. You're going to actually feel that where you got cut is actually a little warm to the touch. So that's what's happening in the stomach. So if you have your stomach very warm, you have to take things, not cool, but to refresh it, because you don't want your body also to warm up the cold. Cucumbers are actually very good for the stomach, but usually the best recommendation is a starchy food, because the starch is actually going to relieve the acidity in the stomach. Potatoes, exactly. So usually the recommendation is to use potatoes with carrots. Yeah. It's a nightshade vegetable that could cause inflammation in certain people with arthritis and things of that nature, but it hasn't been proven scientifically, to be honest with you. Small amount, if you need it for the certain, it really works with stomach elements. You can also do, we call fennel seeds are actually very good as well for the stomach. You can also stop eating a lot of protein and just decrease your protein and increase more carbs. Obviously, if you decrease protein, you have to increase one or the other. Fat or carbs, usually you increase carbs. If you're diabetic, it gets a little bit complicated. But in this case, the general public, if you have someone with stomach ailments, you should give them a juicing protocol. Fenugreek is also very good for the stomach as well. For lactating women as well, it's very good fenugreek. That's what you do with gastritis. We have ulcers. Ulcers are also very painful. We have to take care of consuming a lot of protein, a lot of meat. more vegetables. And also we have to take care of not eating everything cooked. We have to eat more raw food. Because if you eat more raw, you produce actually less acidity. Is the duodenal also, where's the duodenal? It's the small intestine. It's very unpleasing to see. We have these procedures for weight loss. We call this.
To the duodenal ulcers, I know that most of these ulcers are caused by H. pylori bacteria.
Exactly.
But how do we naturally get rid of that? That's something that
Okay.
we should give antibiotics, but we don't.
So basically, antibiotics are the best. Usually, it's given to a patient because it kills bacteria, but at the same time, it kills the flora as well. So you have to give someone a probiotic after 10 days. Depends which type of antibiotic you give, and eventually your body begins to grow resistance for certain antibiotics. And actually, if you take it to a patient that has taken antibiotics, let's say in their childhood, it wouldn't do anything for that bacteria. Actually, you created resistance because pyloric is very smart. It's a very Pylori is very smart, a smart bacteria. So basically, it's going to eat away. It's going to eat away the outer part of the stomach. The best herb for that is usually oregano.
Oregano.
Oregano, that's what I'm saying.
Oregano is very good, and also the famous herb that I mentioned in the morning. What was it? Wormwood. Who said that? Wow. Wormwood. Wormwood is very good for those type of things. Usually the recommendation I give for someone that had Helicobacter pylori, I usually recommend no sweets, no cake, no eggs, nothing that's sweet, so won't give it food. And then you give it a dosage of wormwood. You have to give at least, you could give 2 capsules, usually 3 times a day for 10 days, or you could give a liquid extract 3 times a day. Is the best way of going about it. It actually does really good in the first 5 days, usually. You can actually combine it with oregano. Oregano will act in one place and wormwood will act in the other, and then actually neutralize it. Usually oregano also comes with cloves, sometimes, some extracts. Cloves in excess could actually irritate the stomach a little bit, so usually it's best to get the purest wormwood.
Sorry, for oregano, is it like the herb that you just eat like a spoonful? Or how
The herb has a small amount of the extract that is found in oregano, but usually the best is the oil capsule. But you can't use the oil directly because it actually it's a very strong oil.
Actually, what you can
You can definitely dilute it. So either
you can mix it with a
olive oil.
carrier oil, like an organic olive
They
oil
also
or
sell the
They sell a capsule. I like the capsule better
in a
because
capsule because it will burn your lips when you take it.
yeah, it burns a
So
little.
strong.
Usually,
You know that
But-
clove oil is very, very potent antibiotic. It can take
clove oil is very potent as well.
can take care of gram-positive, gram-negative bacteria,
Yeah.
bugs and viruses. Those are
Personally, you could use cloves, but this Ellen G. White mentions in certain books that it inflames the stomach.
Yeah.
And so in that case, like for example, if it's a parasite, you could ingest it because your stomach is not really an issue. But if it's a stomach issue, for example, usually these individuals that have this are very sensitive in their stomach area. You usually give them also along with that, you give them digestive enzymes. There's a company that's very good that uses glutamate as part of their formula. It's called Comfo Gut by Natural Vitality. I'm not promoting any type of supplement. There's others that do it as well, but digestive enzymes, it has digestive enzymes, it has probiotics, and it has glutamate, which helps alleviate the symptoms. Yeah, that's
I read an article, I shared it with some of the church members, where it says, don't eat fruits after food. Eat fruits on an empty stomach. And that study from that university has proved that 80% of cancer is solved that way. If you eat fruits on an empty stomach. But if you eat it on a full stomach, the opposite takes place. That promotes cancer.
And Ellen G. White said that. So she said that we are not allowed to combine fruits with vegetables. Because fruits have fructose, vegetables
Sometimes
have fiber and other ingredients and sweet. It's a little tricky with cancer cells because cancer cells do what we call anaerobic respiration. which means they grow in the presence without oxygen, means that they produce small amounts of ATP by what we call glycolysis. Hopefully I don't confuse it. But the ones who are science readers know what glycolysis is. But glycolysis is basically taking glucose and digesting it. So actually they feed off glucose. But they also feed off fructose too a little bit. But it has to be synthetic fructose because fruits actually have the fiber to inhibit the absorption of sugar. They did a study where they took white bread and white bread with blueberry jelly. Which one did worse for diabetics?
White bread.
So they put the white bread by itself and white bread with the jelly. What they found was when they added the jelly to the bread, it actually lowered the sugar levels because they're glycemic index, yeah. But obviously white bread is not good, it's the worst thing, but that was what the study said. But wormwood is very good for parasites, but you can only use it for 10 days or usually a little more. You can use it upwards of 20 days or 30 days depending, because it also affects the liver too, because that's the way it works. It works through burning toxins through the liver. So over here we have gastric procedures, we have gastric pouch, we have the sleeve, and we have type of gastric bypass. And we can see that we should avoid this by eating healthier. And how we do that? More fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make a comment and sing the sweet sister Funsha earlier. And I know it might be sensitive, but as a medically obese person, I am obese. My medical terminology, I mean, I'm obese. Adventists should not be obese in any capacity, because if we follow the laws of temperance and what God has given us in His wisdom, we honestly should be the literally healthiest people on earth. And if our bodies do not visually reflect those principles, how then can our lives also be an example for others? And I'm not saying that in a judgmental way, because I am personally going through the process and learning and trying to reverse bad behaviors. So I just wanted to take the opportunity.
Oh, praise the Lord. There's the best. The Lord.
Yeah, that's true.
When, oh, yeah. No question is stupid. My professor used to say that. No question is stupid. Let me know, sister. What is your question?
I know we are all different, our bodies are all different, but isn't there some kind of diet sheet for a week that we can follow that would be good for everybody? Isn't that a stupid question?
A diet sheet that is good for everyone. The manual is found in Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Fruits and seeds.
Greens.
But for everyone.
For everyone, yeah. That's for everyone.
When Adam and Eve were on earth, you know, they're actually very tall. They were almost, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 9, 11 feet. So they were very tall. And God said, eat all the fruits and fruits and seeds you would like. Adam said, let me take that banana and eat half of it and put the other half in the refrigerator. No, there was no refrigerator, so he would actually eat all these fruits from there fresh. That's why they recommend usually locally.
But the fruit did it all.
Yeah, because
Okay, let's explain the diet. It's a big, it's not only one thing. You ready? Okay, so usually a study came, I'm not sure if it was from Harvard, that mentioned that actually we have to decrease our animal products. That my plate is actually too much, because my plate cuts it down. Dairy, we have fruits, we have vegetables, we have fats, protein source. And they said we had to decrease and increase more fruits and vegetables on the other side of the plate. So they actually divided the plate in half, and half of it was fruits or vegetables, and the other half is grains and proteins. So that's basically what's Genesis. Genesis, for example, if we have a plate of food, you don't have to eat only an apple. You can have an apple and a pear. You can also make a pancake. You can make pancakes from oatmeal. You take whole oats, put it in water overnight. After you soak it overnight, you take it out. You put 1 cup of oats. You put pear or any fruit that's very sweet, pear, strawberries, or blueberries. You blend it with a little bit of coconut. You put a little bit of almonds and chia, and chia soaked overnight as well. And you blend it. And when you blend it, you put it in the pan, and you actually can make pancakes from it. You can make hamburgers from lentils. Very good. Actually, you take a little bit of our recipe. Actually puts a little bit of walnuts actually in the lentils to give it that little taste. You can put walnuts. But first you have to soak it, you would put it in a food processor. It has a whole process. We have all these recipes. There's another recipe that you can make from breaded eggplant. You can bread eggplant actually with oats. You can also make cake. We can have cake as well. Vegans have cake. Yeah. Actually, we made also in my lab, which is our kitchen. I made well, Mom makes usually the cakes. She makes carrot cakes, but I made at one time a cheesecake with usually we use tofu that time. But there's another way of making it. You can actually make it with tofu. With cashews. You can also make. We made ice cream from coconut milk. It's very good. You can make your own ice cream. Yeah, definitely. It's very good. So we could have, usually for example, we could have our little treats. The sister's going to help them. We're going to have usually, maybe one day we come here and do a little cooking class too. Show a lot of foods. We can also make rolled up, you can use the cabbage. You can make the cabbage leaf. You can make a little egg roll out of it too. You can fill it with quinoa or any type of fruit or vegetable. For breakfast, you can use quinoa. You can combine it with almond milk. You can make milk from usually you're not supposed to call it milk. You usually want to change it now to beverage. But it's just, you understand what I mean. So you have almond milk, you have cashew milk, you have ripple milk, which is a newer milk that's come from the split peas. You can make milk from coconuts. All these things are very good. Very good for children, coconut.
Actually, it's not hard to be practicing a plant-based lifestyle nowadays because like the millennials are practicing it and there's so many bloggers. You have so many bloggers in Instagram who are vegans. And you get a lot of good recipes, how to make all sorts of, very interesting. So you will not run out of recipes if you go online. Just Google. You will find a lot of.
The invention of the internet was a great invention. Before you had to go to the library and look for all these recipes. And good on one side and bad on the other, that's true.
What about chia seeds? It's good for low BP pressure.
Sorry?
Chia seeds.
For who? For
Hypertension.
Hypertension. Hypo or hyper?
Low BP.
Oh, hypo. Usually chia seeds have a lot of omega-3s. We're going to go through in a little while. But chia seeds have to be soaked because sometimes when they're not soaked, they don't go well with the digestive system. They begin to be sticky. They're very sticky. So it's best to soak them overnight and you can consume them. Blood pressure is a very tricky situation. There's so many medications. There's beta blockers, there's calcium channel blockers, there's ACE inhibitors. There's so many different categories of blood pressure medication. Blood pressure is basically the pressure exerted on the artery. So your heart is throwing liquid, which is the blood, and it's exerting pressure on the arteries. We're going to a different topic, but I'll explain to this why omega-3 is known to be anti-inflammatory. But chia seeds is not going to take someone that has a blood pressure of 150 over 90 and lower it to 120, 80, or 120, 75, or 115, 75. But chia seeds would actually clean the arteries.
It's good to take for it.
Chia seeds. Chia seeds can be taken every day. You should take chia seeds soaked over water overnight. Of course, you gotta check because usually there's also diverticulitis or diverticulosis. Some people could be a little sensitive, even though they did a study that wasn't found in the digestive system. But you could blend it. You could blend it.
But sometimes it gives discomfort for the stomach.
Discomfort for the stomach. It depends how you take it. If you take 1 tablespoon of chia, you put it in soak overnight with about this much water, and then you take warm water, you put it with a little tiny bit of lemon, and it's very good for the stomach.
Morning or evening?
Morning, fasting. Chia.
It cleanses the arteries.
It helps clean the arteries because omega-3 is
Because it's a lot of
omega-3 helps neutralize what we call the fat found in the arteries.
How about taking omega-3 vitamins, supplements?
The issue what I have with omega-3s is usually comes from fish oil. Fish oil can have a lot of mercury in it sometimes. So usually I recommend flaxseed oil.
Oh.
1 tablespoon of flaxseed oil has about 7.9 grams of omega-3. So it's a lot of omega-3. Chia the chia and the flaxseed are the 2 highest sources, one of the 2 highest sources of omega-3s compared to omega-6. We have omega-3, omega-6, omega-9. Omega-6 and omega-3 are the issue with mostly all humanity because there's a lot of omega-6 in food. For example, if you usually recommend a lot of this oil that is called grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is good for cooking and heating, but it has a lot of omega-6. So if you have someone that has a lot of inflammation and they take if they take grapeseed, thank you, grapeseed oil, they will have issues down the line. But that,
is omega, not omega, is flax meal as effective as flax oil? Or is there a difference?
there hasn't been a study to compare both of them.
Okay.
There's a higher concentrated source of omega-3. It's a medicine. You have to give it by prescription. I forget the name of it right now off the top of my head. But omega-3 is omega-3.
Okay. So you're saying, let's say the flax meal.
It would be a good experiment. We could do that type of study. We could take people's cholesterol levels, which I've done in the past, and give them omega-3 from the flaxseed, and you can see it go down. Because I have all the ways of doing it. I just have to take blood, analyze it, and do it. That's it. But usually with the patients I've seen, when you take, for example, milk is they're very interested. I'm sorry, we're going off topic a little bit. We'll go back to the digestive system. But before we go back, if you give someone a high-fat meal and take their blood about 2 hours, let's say for example you give them like red meat, or you give them cheese or eggs, you take their blood, you can actually see in the blood, you can see the top, the plasma actually goes with all this fat, and it becomes like a pinkish, yellowish texture. You can actually see this in a fraction of about 2 to 3 hours. Literally, I've seen it a few times. And when you take that cholesterol, you actually put it in the lab and analyze it. I have a piccolo in my office, so what I do is I take a little bit of blood and I put it in this, and it analyzes it. The machine actually says error, I can't analyze so much fat. So then, yeah, I've had that a few times. So it would measure it, but it says results were, because what it does is it reaches an end point. So when you do a lab, I don't know, I'm talking a little bit of chemistry here. Hopefully we're okay. You react fat, for example, omega-3 is omega-3 no matter if it's flaxseed, no matter if it's fish. But the difference is the concentration. The concentration of omega-3s is what's beneficial. But if you give someone more dosage of omega-3 from flaxseed, it actually would lower cholesterol. It should theoretically lower cholesterol. But you can't consume flaxseed oil and continue the same diet, obviously. You would have to change the diet, lower fat. Before, it used to be thought about 20, 30 years ago that if you consume fat, it's not beneficial for the body. But now they say, no, we have to have fat. A little fat is good. But flaxseed is anti-inflammatory. But we talk about that a little later.
For the ground flax seeds, I think they're saying that be careful. You have to use the flax seeds right away.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
They're very volatile, so it gets rancid.
The best way to do it is to grind it at home, yes, that's very true. It's like an avocado. When you cut an avocado, it gets oxidized. Another way of doing it is doing the oil, and the way they preserve the oil is by putting vitamin E in it, and they put vitamin E and they put rosemary oil actually inside the flax oil, to prevent it from oxidizing. And they put it in a dark container and they seal it. That's another way of doing it, but to consume grinded flaxseed is not really beneficial as grinding it yourself. And if it's grinded, you have to do a few things in order to preserve it so it doesn't get damaged in transit, which is not done in the ones that are sold in the supermarkets. You have to put a special container with an air-sealed container. You have to put vitamin E in it, and you would have to sterilize actually the container that you're going to be putting it in as well, and refrigerate it as well sometimes in order to prevent oxidation. Vitamin C is the same way, but we're going to a different topic. Let's try to see if we go back to the digestive system. So we have over here small and large intestine. Are we okay? We have our scientist hats on. What do we call them? No. Our biblical scientific hats on. Do we have them all on? Yes? Let's go back. Let's see if you guys know. What are the 3 locations of the small intestine? The 3 sections. Okay, you guys have them already. Okay, so we have duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Which one is the largest? So we have duodenum is 26 centimeters. Very small. Jejunum is 2.5 meters. 8 feet. Ileum is 3.5 meters, 11.5 feet. All these tubes are found inside your body right now. Used to be a little girl used to say right now. And it's right now, it's right there in your intestine. But for now, your stomach still has the food right now. So we've been almost about 2 hours. It's still in your stomach. Especially if you had some black beans or if we had some other type of beans, it's still in there for a little more. Until maybe 5 o'clock. No, yeah, maybe 5 o'clock, 4:45. Divided to 6 meters, we know duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Each one has different absorption, different things it absorbs. Lipids go through a certain way, short fatty acids go through a certain way, amino acids, glucose, and fructose. Fructose goes straight through the gut. Fructose does not have a mediator, doesn't use insulin. That's why if someone suffers from diabetes, they can actually consume certain fruits and it would spike their glucose levels. We have prebiotics, we have gut microbia, we have fermentation that leads in the gut, and then that changes the pH and all these things in the intestine. Water is absorbed approximately 80% in the small intestine, 10% in the large intestine. The rest is excreted by feces. The best Gatorade. What is the best Gatorade for the human race? What else we have? It comes from the tropical areas. Coconut. It has the natural electrolytes, yes. Fat-soluble vitamins, I mentioned A, D, E, and K. Water-soluble B, C, and all the B vitamins. Vitamin B12 needs intrinsic factor. Items absorbed by duodenum. And most of the jejunum absorbs, vitamin B12 is in the ileum. But iron is also absorbed in the jejunum. Something that's very interesting to consider is vitamin B12 deficiency is actually not a cause of diet, but mostly due to malabsorption. It's found in the books of Pharmaceutical Medical, what was it? In Spanish it's the books of pharmaceuticals usually it's found that vitamin B12 deficiency. Yeah, exactly. So over here we see the main function of the small intestine to absorb the nutrients from the food. 90% absorption of digestion and absorption of food. The other 10% occur in the stomach and intestine, the large intestine. I can't zoom in, but we can see over here each section has a different thing that it absorbs. All these vitamins that God created. We have calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, iron, copper, selenium, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, biotin, folate. A lot of people are going a little crazy sometimes because they're not absorbing these vitamins properly. It's due to issues with digestion. what's one of the best and easiest ways to clean your colon? You can write this down. You take 2 cups of pineapple, half a cup of aloe vera gel, and 1 orange. You cut the orange in pieces, you blend, you strain, and you drink 3 cups of 8 ounces for 1 week. We're gonna go over it again, okay? We have 2 cups of pineapple, half a cup of aloe vera, or what we call the gel, 1 orange, 1 orange. 2 cups that literally fit into 2 cups. So for example, I don't know if it would be 16 ounces because it's a little different with weight in pineapple, because you know pineapple takes a lot of space, it's not that heavy. But the amount that fits in 2 cups. So you take a cup, you measure 1, 2 cups. Take the 2 cups, put it in the blender. Of what? Pineapple. Half a cup of aloe vera gel. You take the gel inside, you put it in the cup.
The raw one.
The raw. The plant. You peel and you take the inside.
Like the fillet.
The gel, they call it. Just the gel. All the gel, not the skin. And you take a cup, orange.
1 orange.
You take 1 orange. Doesn't matter what orange, usually recommend just a regular, any of them, yeah, any of them will be fine. As long as it's an orange and as long as it's, you rinse it. Rinse it before you put it in the blender. The whole orange itself. Why we do that, I'll explain to you in a little bit, because this is actually called the lymphatic cleanse. But it actually works, it's a cleanse. It's a cleanse, it's called lymphatic cleanse in the book that we have. But it's 2 cups of pineapple, half a cup of aloe vera, and 1 orange. You blend and you strain.
Oh, you strain.
You have to strain it through a cheesecloth or through a colander.
And this is for?
It's called the lymphatic cleanse, but it also works as a laxative. It's like a colon cleanse because it has so much fiber. The pineapple, the orange, and the aloe. The aloe is a laxative, so it's going to send you to the bathroom. But it's not going to send you to the bathroom right away. It's going to take like about 4 hours, 5 hours to take action. And when you go, you feel like everything is coming out.
And this is to take it for a week?
So you're going to take 3 cups, 8 ounces for 1 week. Yeah. 8 ounces. Just the juice. Just the juice, because you're going to take what we call the
3 weeks milling.
1 week.
the soluble fiber. We're taking the soluble fiber, we're taking the insoluble fiber out, so it won't be a digestion. And you're going to take 3 cups of 8 ounces, maybe once after dinner, once before dinner, once after lunch, once after breakfast. 3 times 8 ounces.
So once after meal?
Once after meals, but except before dinner, because you don't want to drink too late. It's a simple colon cleanse. I could give you a little bit more of a complicated one, which is with psyllium. You know what psyllium is? You have to be careful with psyllium because psyllium, you take that, you go to the bathroom, but not like crazy, but you go to the bathroom. Psyllium, you take 1 tablespoon of psyllium, take 8 ounces of water, and you take, that is a little bit of a strong one. You can take half a cup of aloe, and you put a little bit of agave, which is the sweetener. If you like, if not, you don't have to put it. You blend it, and you just take that, and you wait for the thing to react. It's gonna send you to the bathroom. But psyllium it will make liquid thick, so you gotta be careful. You can't put little water. You gotta put it gels, and you can actually choke on it if you put too small amount of water. So sometimes it's best to take the aloe and just mix it, blend it with the water, and then combine it with the psyllium. Psyllium is going to send you to the bathroom, but it's not a strong lasting. Shalom. When hair is falling, okay, ask me about hair. We're asking about different questions. We have a follicle in our head that prevents hair from falling. If you pull on your hair, you actually can feel the pain of pulling on the hair, right? Because it's a follicle. It's inside with the nerves. So to give, to help with hair growth, fenugreek is very good. Fenugreek. You know fenugreek?
What the seeds?
The seeds. There's a remedy you take the methy seeds, they actually call it. You take fenugreek, you soak it overnight, you put it in the blender with coconut oil, and that mixture you actually rub on your head. First you blend the fenugreek seeds into like a powder. After you take away the water, you blend it like a powder, and you combine that with the oil, the coconut oil. It's very good for hair growth, so it helps stimulate the follicle. Another remedy is also taking warm coconut oil. And obviously, after you put that in your hair, it's going to smell very not pleasing. So what you have to do is you have to do it before you wash your hair. You put it on there, you leave it there for an hour, and then you rinse it, you shampoo. Very important also not to shampoo every day. Because it's gonna take away the oils that your body produces to protect the hair fall. We have biotin too. Biotin is very good for hair growth, but biotin will also increase hair growth in all locations. So on your hands, on your arms, legs. So usually I don't recommend that like crazy. Not all over the place though. So usually you also have collagen. Samson. Yeah. Oh, Esau, yeah, Esau had the hair. Yeah, you're right. Rosemary is very good also. You could do essential oil with rosemary, a little bit of olive oil. You could stimulate the scalp. Coconut oil is very good for the scalp. Curry is also beneficial, but it's going to give you that very peculiar smell. It's going to give you it's going to smell very unpleasing. So you have to do it before you wash your hair. It's very important to stimulate the scalp. You also have castor oil too. Yeah. You would be able to combine it with castor oil and coconut oil. Castor oil's job is basically to take away things, toxins. It's a very good transfer oil as well. But its job principle is very good at taking away toxins from the body. So if you put it in your scalp, you could put it with a mixture with coconut oil. Coconut is a softer oil. It's more of a lubricator instead of extract. You could do that too. Or you could just put the coconut oil in its natural state, heat it up, put it in the scalp, and then leave it until you wash your hair in the afternoon, or do it when you're home. Or you could actually, there's different ways of doing it. But for now, we'll leave it like that. For the hair, question? Alkaline foods are found all over. Vegetables, green leaves, because of the chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is alkaline in its natural state because it's magnesium. Magnesium is an alkaline mineral. If we take lemon juice, it's actually neutralize the acidity in the stomach. But I do not recommend baking soda to be drunk like that. Why? 1 tablespoon of baking soda has, I think, 1,000 milligrams of sodium. So if you have high blood pressure, it's going to go higher. And also it neutralizes the acidity in your stomach, but at the same time it's going to take away absorption of certain vitamins and minerals in your gut. Your body naturally produces sodium bicarbonate through a reaction with when you breathe.
You breathe oxygen, you release carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is used in the body to produce sodium carbonate, HCO3, by 2, HCO2. Apple cider vinegar is acidic, and it would increase toxins in the body. Ellen G. White gives us that recommendation not to take any acidity. It's good for example, you have toe fungus, it will do marvelous things. It's very good for cleaning, but more white vinegar for cleaning. Beans? You have to soak beans overnight. Soak. Cranberry juice is very good, but let's go again to the colon. We're leaving the colon. We forgot about the colon. Oh, they have to finish to go do the thing. Okay, we can leave it here. I'm sorry? How much longer we have? It's 4:30. Oh, half hour. Okay, we're still okay on time. Okay, we'll leave the questions for the end. You could bombard me with questions, but please on the topic for the most part. We can see here we have amino acids. We have short chain fatty acids. We have over here micelles, which are fats as well. So you can see how they pass through the guts into the intestine. I'm not going to complicate anyone with biochemistry, but it's very important to note digestion begins with what we see, and then the mouth. If I see my favorite dish of food, what's going to happen? Yeah. We have to be careful with what we think too, because our mind influences a lot. But if you think about a lemon right now and you see lemon, your mouth is going to begin to have that sour taste. And so we have to take care of that. Over here we have a normal villi. Over here we have someone that has celiac disease. What is celiac disease? Your body's attacking an autoimmune disease that attacks the gut due to gluten intolerance. You have diarrhea, abdominal pain, bone, joint cramp, joint pain, muscle cramps, fatigue, neuropathy. Yeah, my sister-in-law had celiac disease. You obviously going to always have the disease, so you can't have gluten. If you have gluten, you're going to have the symptoms. But there's people that have had miscarriages due to celiac disease, and they've had children. My sister-in-law had celiac disease, and she changed her diet, and now she has 3 children. But previously, she had difficulty sustaining the babies during a period of time. Gluten is the protein found in bread. It's separated into 2 subgroups. And wheat is really genetically modified, so that is why it gives one of those issues a little bit more prevalent now. It's more found in the northern hemisphere, but it's increasing worldwide, is what this says. Liver and gallbladder and pancreas. What do we know about these organs? Can you live without your liver? Does your liver regenerate itself? Okay. You could cut it and it'll still come back. How about pancreas? Can you do that with the pancreas? How about the intestine? If you cut part of your intestine, will it grow back? No. You can live without part of your intestine. That's correct. Pancreas is very important. We have issues with the gallbladder in the society today. Gallbladder stones. chop it out. But there's different remedies that we could do. For example, apple juice is very good for fat. There's a remedy with apple juice and a remedy with lemon, liver flush. There's also a remedy with 1 yellow lemon, 4 to 2 tablespoons of flaxseed or olive oil, and 4 ounces of water to take that fasting for a period of 3 weeks, 2 weeks, depending. That's for the gallbladder, easy cleanse. ¿Tiene agua tú? We have water, no water? Oh, no water today. On the car I have water. We see over here, we have these tubes. You can see these tubes flowing in the body. What can we imagine that the blue tube? The blue tube, what would it be? Arteries, what? The blue one is not. The red one, yes. What would be the blue one? Veins. We got phlebotomists here? No phlebotomists? We could take some blood. Oh, the nurse could take some blood. Right, Evelyn? Yes, we have here. Veins are blue. Arteries are red. And what is green? What color? Lymphatic system. If you've ever seen a nodule when it's inflamed, you can see the tinge it has of green. So the lymphatic system is, the veins are, the arteries are. So this is what we call a villi, this whole thing right here. And what it does actually, it takes the fat and it sends it through the portal vein. It goes up into the liver, and certain fats, if they're large enough, have to go through the lymphatic system. But they have to use something that's called what? It's the green thing that comes out of your liver. Liquid. Bile. There we go. Bile is mixed with the fat, which goes into the intestine, and it goes right into the lymphatic system. So that's why if you have the lymphatic system dirty, it's going to be difficult to absorb that. We're going to go through something that is anatomy. What is this organ right here? Pancreas. What is diabetes? We got a few things going on. Let's try to simplify it. Insulin. We have type 1 and type 2. What's the difference? Type 1, no insulin. Type 2, you could have insulin or you could not have insulin. You could have too much, too little. I'm sorry? What? Oh, type 2. Yeah, type 2. Well, diabetes actually means, oh, thank you. We need gasoline. Gasolina. A little water. I'm sorry? Water a little bit? I'm sorry. Waterlino. Waterlino. How much waterlino we need a day? 100 ounces. The dietitian knows. Yes. The easiest way is half of your weight in ounces. Yes. Why do we have 8 ounces? Why do they say we have to drink 8 cups of water a day? Because what happens was that they calculated how much urine you excrete, and then that's how they came up with the 8 cups. Yeah, that's easier, but if you have to drink a lot of water sometimes to make it from yellow to clear, right? Sometimes it takes a little time, especially if you're dehydrated too. But here we have the pancreas. There's various cells. There's alpha, beta, and delta. What else does the pancreas do? The pancreas is very important. Why? Because when we have indigestion, we need these enzymes. Alpha does glucagon, but beta is what does insulin. The ones that look green, you see the green cells? Those are the beta cells, and they usually die when you have problems with glucose. Do you need... Usually with... sometimes doctors tend to recommend medication because the patients don't want to change their diet. It's the easiest way. But eventually... it's easy to write it. It's very easy to prescribe someone, hey, take this, and that's it. Forget about diet, but diet is needed. You need diet. Eventually, it's going to catch up to you. Pancreas is very important for juices. This is the section where we have to tighten our seatbelts because the images are not going to be too pleasing. We're going to see a little bit of feces, okay? If you guys are okay with feces, we could see feces today. What did you poop today? That's what we're going to look at today, okay? We see it every day, but some people don't see it. Sometimes people just sit, go, flush, clean, flush. That's it. But we have to see, like you said, every day. I ate corn yesterday, and you see it there. You say, oh, it's going. Okay. But it's because you don't chew the food. We have to chew. Sometimes even if you eat strawberries, you can actually see the skin of the strawberries in the feces as well. Sometimes you can see even the blueberries. Oh, look, the blueberry. That's what happens. But this is the beauty of the body because that's fiber too. All the fiber, the fruits and vegetables. The colon, ascending, transverse, ascending, rectum, and anus, we have about 5 feet long. So about the size of yay big is the size of my colon. So we can see it's pretty big, you know? And it fits right in here. All wrinkly and all coiled up. Where can we find our colon? If you put your finger on your belly button and you raise it at least 1 inch over it, you could find your colon. It crosses the transverse colon. Leaky guts. The word leaky, what does it mean? There's holes, exactly. So if there's holes, we have to clog up the holes. We got to stop the holes from being there. What happens is, remember we saw you see this right here? These are 2 cells. They're next to each other. The leaking will begin right in between these cells. So the way you stop leaking is by decreasing inflammation first, and also by increasing probiotics. Probiotics. Usually recommend upwards of 50 to 100 billion probiotics. Where will we get that? It's very difficult for someone that doesn't have, like, not a license, but like the credential to buy probiotics. There's certain probiotics that even the highest I could get is 500 billion probiotics, but it's a container like this. And you take it usually for 7 days. You can also purchase 90 billion probiotics, a capsule. Anyone could get that, or 100 billion. Obviously, you don't want to be taking them like crazy, but usually we recommend one probiotic every meal for a period about a month, depending. But leaky gut has to do a lot with constipation too. If something is leaking, what you have to do, you got to patch it up. So we got to patch it with fiber too. You got to clean it too. You got to clean the tube and then patch it up. Yep. Over here, we have the ileum. A lot of people suffer from gases because of this valve. This is called the ileocecal valve. It's near the appendix. You can see the appendix right here. A lot of people suffer from appendicitis because being that's in the bottom portion of your colon, all the feces gets pushed into that bottom when you're very constipated. So eventually, if something is dirty, it's going to get infected. So sometimes this valve stays open and isn't closed properly, and some people suffer from indigestion due to that. If you push down on this area, you actually could close the valve, but you have to know how to do it. And I don't think I could show it to anyone today. But where is it found? In what part of your body? Where's the appendix? Let's go through anatomy. 101. Stomach is found on what side? So we have over here, you see this colon? The transverse. The easiest way to find the appendix is the opposite of the stomach. Right hand side. If I'm looking at someone straight at me like this, my right is their left. So this is my right, their left. This is my left, their right. Where's the heart? Left center. So where would it be? Their right. So when you're going to someone that you're measuring their heartbeat, you can't go to their left. You can't go to your left. You got to go to your right because everything is opposite, it's a mirror image. But yeah, the appendix is right here on the right-hand side, and it's a little tiny tube right there. So we have the ascending. How does the colon go up? From the right, it goes up. From the left, it goes down. So if you want to do a massage to go to the bathroom, you could do circular movements going up until a little bit above your belly button, then goes to the left, and then go down. And sometimes you can actually feel the movements of your intestine trying to relieve the pressure of. And sometimes you can feel some gas if you have to throw some gas. But okay, right? But the way you close the valve is found on the left or right hand side. It's near the appendix. Right, left, where? Right here is the appendix. The valve is right here. So it's on the right hand side, my left. You push down on that area. You tell the person, well, you have to show how to do it, but basically you breathe, and at the same time they're breathing in, you push that part down when they relieve the breath. And then that's how you close that valve, if it's open. The use of the appendix. Medically, they can say you could remove it, you could live all your life. But the very important part of this appendix right here is this organ is connected to the lymphatic system. And lubricates also, and it also keeps it in its position as well. And also, this organ has a lot of lymphatic nodes as well. So it's very important for detecting maintaining the flora as well. You need it. Exactly. So we have over here the colon, the rectum. Now we're going to begin to see some feces, okay? So prepare yourselves. You can see the belly button right here. This is the transverse. And you can see it's not perfectly straight. It's a little bit fault. It's a little bit collapsed. Not collapsed, but it's like this, curved. There's 400 species of bacteria. There's a saying too, if you are married, you have millions of bacteria in your mouth because your sharing is caring and you're full of bacteria. We can see you can see colorectal neoplasia. We can see colon. We have polyps, 10 to 15 years, and it turns into cancer. Some intestines, when they do autopsy in Spanish, sometimes it's easier in Spanish, weighed up to 40 pounds and widened to a diameter of 12 inches with only a thin channel through which the feces could move. This is Dr. Richard Anderson. So we could see 40 pounds is a lot of weight, isn't it? What is 40 pounds? I would say this whole thing right here maybe weighs around that, if it's nothing inside here in this container. 40% of it, wow. So you can see, so 40 pounds, 12 inches is almost a foot, the diameter of the intestine. These are the friends that the what? The colon? The intestine? 40 pounds of feces found inside the intestine. They took out the feces and they weighed it. So it's a lot of... We're going to go through it. We're going to see some images, okay, how to analyze this. Over here we see a 2016 study published in the journal of BMJ, British Medical Journal, found that the average American gets 57.9% of the daily calories from foods that are ultra-processed. But this is in Spanish, but we have ultra-processed. Says, reports 70 million U.S. suffer from symptoms of poor digestive health. We have Twinkies, Chips Ahoy. Did you know, is the question today, did you know that Oreos are actually vegan? Vegan. It's highly processed, exactly. That is why when someone says, I am vegan, it does not mean they're always going to be healthy. This is vegan, but it's not healthy. Oreos used to be made with animal fat, but they found that they could replace it with soy lecithin. So they replaced it with soy lecithin, and that's why it's vegan now. Before it had gelatin, I believe. Gelatin, no. It had animal fat. It had eggs in it too. We have, because soy lecithin is a good emulsifier. It's used almost in everything. Shampoos, conditioners, to everything. Everything has soy. We can see Doritos. Doritos are not vegan. Coca-Cola is vegan, isn't it? Coca-Cola doesn't have any animal products. It's only sugar. And it will damage your enamel on your teeth too, but it's vegan. I say it's vegan, it doesn't mean that it's healthy. But it's an explanation, because some people say, I've been vegan all my life and I am sick. Will you explain that, doctor? I say we have to go in depth because God is faithful. There's other things too. Cheetos, Doritos, you can actually take Cheetos and you can light them up with fire. You can actually burn Cheetos because they actually have a lot of fat, and fat is a very combustion agent and also combustible agent, and also it's almost similar to plastic since it's so processed, the potato. Yeah, it's very interesting. We can see this individual has a big belly. It's not due because she is pregnant, it's because she has a lot of feces in her colon. So we have stomach ache, acidity, excessive gas. Sometimes there are couples that separate because there's too much gas. It's the truth. Sometimes they're together, and every time they're together, the smell is very, very unpleasant. It's the truth. We have constipation, diarrhea, IBS. There's some people that say, I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep. I go to sleep, it's like I don't sleep nothing. I wake up in the morning, it's the same thing. We have issues from the colon. Humor changes is, hello, how are you doing today? And you yell. Also the liver. There are people that suffer from cirrhosis and they're very aggressive sometimes. Or sometimes, so we have to pray. We have to pray. So we can see over here, insomnia. Humor changes, skin conditions, allergies, and rapid weight gain. Yes. A lot of topics today, huh? We got to stomach, we got to intestine, we got to polyps, now to fibroids. That's very come more often. Well, we have to invite me more often. Maybe the sister we have to see. Fibroids are usually caused by poor digestive health, but also your body is, females, when they produce fibroids, it's a lot of toxins in the body. So it could be hormonal as well. Usually women begin to grow fibroids after their menstrual cycle leaves them. So sometimes if you control the menstrual cycle, not the menstrual cycle, but the hormonal system with different herbs, Dong Quai, black cohosh, different herbs could help control that. I recommend usually beet juice and carrot juice. Drink it 3 cups, 8 ounces for a period about a month. Also a little bit of molasses to help decrease anemia, because usually when you have fibroids, you have anemia. Sit baths are very important too. Dígame, Lucy. So molasses you could take 1 tablespoon, maybe twice if you have those issues, fibroids. You could also do we call sit baths. Does anyone know what sit baths are here? Oh, if you're diabetic, yes, of course. This is why we can't do all conditions at once, you know? I can only do one at a time. The best molasses is organic, and it's found in Whole Foods, and it's not that expensive. Or you could buy it anywhere. I don't promote Whole Foods. But it's called Wholesome Organics, and they sell molasses. But obviously molasses is sugar. So if you're diabetic, it's going to pick up your sugar levels. Molasses? Yeah, molasses has good calcium. It has good iron as well. It's very good. But yes, it's also very important to cleanse the colon. If the fibroids are small, they're easier to eliminate them. You would actually eliminate, the woman would actually see their fibroids come out of their vaginal canal, and actually they would see it pop out through sit baths. Me and mom, well, mom mostly because she deals with female. Obviously, I'm not allowed to, look at those, that's something that's personal, female, so I leave that usually to mom. And she could testify there was a lady that had many fibroids, and she did the sit bath, and actually the fibroid popped out. ¿Verdad? It came out, and it was a very terrible smell in the whole house. She's there. Ask the doctor.
He compromised me, but he's well, you have to use different things, different herbs, and you have to use the sit bath, and you have to clean your body. Sit bath. In the pharmacy they sell it. It's like a round. It's like a round bag. It's like
Basin.
You put in the toilet, but you have to do the tea of rosemary, sage, chamomile, and wormwood. that he said, wormwood. And then you gotta sit down in the warm bath. And also, you have to do the cold bath. The cold bath is with a charcoal and barro, ¿cómo es? Bentonite clay. But it's not only that. First, you ask God, because he's a divine doctor, to help you. Chamomile, sage, rosemary, and wormwood. Because I have some information that was in the newspaper that they say that most of the tumors and fibrom is when you eat meat, when you eat meat. When you don't have the correct diet, you know, they accumulate, the toxin accumulate in your body, and then this is formed. Before I had him, I had a fibrom too, and that's what I did. The juices that he said, the carrots and when you do all the herbs, you, la cuela, ¿cómo que se dice? You put in the strainer. Oh, once you do it, you sit down and then, but not in the hot, it has to be lukewarm water. But you sit down in there for 20 minutes. And you have to do it like for a month if you had a fibrom. Fibrom? It's not in 2 days that they're gonna come out. And then you put you sit down, but you gotta trust that God is the divine doctor. You know, because I could use a lot of things. If I don't have no faith, that doesn't gonna come out. But if I have the faith that he's gonna act in my body and help me, then it will. But you have to do it few things, you know. You have to eat like a queen. In the morning like a queen. In the afternoon like a, what is this? Huh?
You eat like a beggar.
In the evening, you eat like a beggar. I'm learning, but it's a lot of things that you know, you have to have faith. I had a testimony of my own husband that had cancer, and it's 13 years already that he is free of cancer. Because you have to believe what God says in his word. He say, I will not give you any disease if you do this commandment in these statutes. You know, I have to believe what he says in his word. It's not me or Dr. Bruno, or Dr. Whoever. It's not going to be positive if you have to have a positive mind. And you have to forgive the one that offend you. That's the one good point. But you have to clean your body with different juices. And, you know, and this happened in Dominican, those things that the lady that thing come out. It was a cancer that she had. It's like a month doing, you know, praying in the morning and put your hands in God, in the Lord, you know, and asking him to be your divine doctor, to come in your house to help you. And believe that, you have to believe.
So it should be done only once in the
No, you could do it twice. You could do it in the morning and you could do it at night. But that's, but even you have the testimony of your mother, remember? Yeah. That she did the remedy and the tumor come out through the skin.
Oh.
Yeah, she had a testimony. You wanted to give it.
Well, it wasn't really a big tumor, but it was like, you know, it would come out. You see, like llaguitas.
Like an ulcer type.
Erosions, yeah, around
Erosion.
her waist. Yeah. And she lasted longer than.
You know, if you believe what it says in Luke 9, Matthew 10, and Mark 3, it says that he gives us authority and power to heal diseases.
Amen.
You know, you have to believe that. But if you go to the doctor and you tell the doctor, give me some medicine, I'm sick, and then you go home and you do the natural things, those two things don't go together. It doesn't work together. So you have to believe in what you see in the Word of God, and He said, I will give you power and authority to heal the diseases and to cast out the demons and to do the preaching. So we have to believe that. Glory be to God. He's the only one that could say, take us the diseases.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's 5 o'clock now. I don't know if we have enough time to look at feces today. Do you want to?
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, this is it. 40 pounds of what we call rubbery, tired, black, green, or old piece of dry, like plastic. Doctor refers to this point in his waist as mucoid plaque. You can see this. It's all feces. Healthy stools are healthy. Blood in stool is not healthy.
Yeah.
I repeat, blood in the stools is not healthy. If the blood is dark red or bright red, it could mean different things. Obviously, you have to check to see exactly where the blood is coming from to be, but if you have hemorrhoids and it's bright red, obviously it's due to the hemorrhoids. If it's dark red, coagulated blood is more inside, internal. So that could be polyps or cancer even. Depending on your stature, diet, it could be 5 to 20 pounds of feces in their intestine. Each foot of colon can store 5 to 10 pounds of feces. So that's a lot of feces.
Wow.
Over here we can see something very interesting. What color is this?
Yeah.
So the first question you ask is what? What is the color?
Yes.
And the other question is it red? Is it
Black.
white? Is it brown? Is it black? Is it yellow? So we can see here it's like reddish, so most likely it's due to hemorrhoids. Because you can see it's spotting a little red. You can see not the whole thing is not red, just partially. I couldn't say 100%. You gotta check to see, because usually if you have hemorrhoids, you have digestive issues or constipation because you're pushing, and that pressure causes irritation in the intestine. Very uncomfortable. But we can see over here, this feces is very black.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's very like rubbery. So we have to take care of this. So we see, sometimes I see my dog, when I take him for a walk, I see all these different types of poops. And I can see it from him. When he doesn't drink enough water, he looks like stones. When he's a little bit with diarrhea, you can see it's like water. You can see this poop is a little bit healthier, 3 and 4. We want the poop to be very easy and to come out. When you go to the bathroom, it shouldn't be an experiment, waiting for it to come. It's true. When you go to the bathroom, it should be a pleasant experience. That when you sit down, you're relaxed. Because also you gotta be relaxed when you go to the bathroom. And if you're not relaxed, I have to go to the bathroom because I have to go to school or work, and in like half an hour, I gotta go. Nothing's coming. Ah! And then you push. Very important to, in these countries, in the United States, we have toilets that you sit. But when you sit, your colon is not releasing properly. They say the best way is to poop squatting down, like this.
Oh, that's right.
There's footstools that allow your colon to help gravity work with it. Doesn't mean you have to do that. But you could, in Japan, in some Asian countries, they actually just have a hole in the floor.
That's in India.
And you squat down to go to the bathroom. Yeah?
Before we had that problem.
Yeah. They have a place to put your feet and you just squat down. Wow. We got to go to travel around the world. Eh?
I think in Japan before they have that.
And don't bring your cell
Oh,
phone.
we need visa to go to India. You can't go
Now
to
they are
India.
modernizing.
You need visa.
Nobody wants to sit there. Everybody wants to sit now.
Yeah, I know.
They're becoming American.
Yeah.
They don't want to squat.
But in rural villages area, you have that.
Yeah.
Huh? It's like a latrina. We call it
in Spanish latrina, I think. You squat, right? Not anymore? Not anymore?
No more.
But this is the poop. In Japan.
I think Japan they're still.
Yeah, it's lower. You can squat. But it's very important when you go to the bathroom, dedicate at least to go twice a day if you eat 3 times a day, at least.
Twice.
If you go, sometimes you go in the morning, after you drink the warm water, and in the afternoon. But when you go to the bathroom, you shouldn't have to push. If you push, we have issues.
Relax and let go.
Relax and let go. There you go. That's true.
Don't bring your cell phone.
You got to sterilize the cell phone after going to the bathroom with
You
it.
forgot that you're putting your.
Over here we have how the flora could actually affect your mind. Supposedly?
Suppository.
What? Oh, suppositorio, yeah. You can use, you use aloe vera, aloe vera.
through the mouth, so that you can go easy.
Joey,
No,
you will come
dependent, addicted to that, that's true. No, I'm talking about suppositorio for hemorrhoids and for those things. I'm talking about that. Aloe vera, you could put it inside the rectum, cool, if you need it for hemorrhoids in the freezer. But don't stimulate the intestine because you're gonna create a habit. If you go to the bathroom, it has to be nice and smooth.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice and smooth. It's very important, these things.
Smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing, exactly. So the way we do this is number 1, drink a lot of water. Number 2, don't worry, be happy. Number 2, don't worry, be happy. It's true, when you go to the bathroom, don't bring your problems from work, from school, from everything. Dígame.
translate a little bit for them sometimes.
Okay, está bien. I'm going to talk in Spanish and English, okay? Hay que tratar de cuando uno vaya al baño, primero tomar mucha agua, segundo, ser feliz, y el baño ser feliz. Feliz means happy in Spanish. Feliz.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz sábado, yes.
So hurry, worry and curry.
Hurry, worry.
Hurry, worry and curry will lead to constipation.
Oh, curry, but how would curry lead to constipation? You mean turmeric?
Spices.
Oh, spicy. Spicy, yes. Spicy will actually make you go to the bathroom sometime. Hurry, worry, curry. No, curry. Curry and turmeric.
Turmeric, yes.
But what type of
Turmeric, you can use organic, or turmeric orgánico.
Saffron.
I'm sorry?
Saffron.
Saffron is a little bit of a stronger herb, stronger spice. Not too much. I personally don't use it too much. I know in the Indian culture and other cultures, it's used a lot to spice the food. Flaxseed will make it linaza. Sometimes we are very irritable because we have a bad flora. A veces estamos irritables porque tenemos una flora intestinal dañada. So we have to fix our flora. Tenemos que arreglar la flora.
How do we do that?
Putting healthy bacteria in the colon. Poniendo bacterias saludables en el colon.
Like yogurt and stuff like that.
How about like you make your own
Yogurt?
no, probiotic like kombucha?
The problem with kombucha, it has a little bit of alcohol.
Because of the fermentation?
The fermentation produces a little bit of alcohol. It actually has, by volume, it has, I think, 0.4%. The kombucha es un extracto que se hace en fermentación. So usually it's best to use vegan yogurts. Vegan yogurt is a very explosive market right now. Un yogur vegano es una compañía muy popular ahora. Una idea muy popular. They say right now, currently, vegan yogurts are actually growing a little bit
faster than cow-based yogurts.
Yeah, that's true.
Que los yogurts veganos están creciendo más rápido que los yogures comunes. The best yogurt right now on the market that I find personally is the almond yogurt from Silk. El yogur mejor que yo he visto ahora en el mercado se llama Silk de almendra. The way they do it is that they actually work in a very good flavor profile. They use different starch. They use pectin. And the pectin doesn't make it taste horrible. Because sometimes tapioca and cornstarch actually give it a very weird taste. So they put pectin, they put the live cultures, and they put the almonds. And the sweetener that they use is the cane. That's basically all it has, the yogurt. You can make that at home. It's not that complicated. You can make vegan yogurts made by Congress SDA Church. Yeah, you can make it. You can actually take a yogurt from the store and make your own yogurt. But the secret is, I guess, se puede coger yogur de la tienda y hacer su propio yogur en casa. But the secret is that when you make the yogurt, we have to test certain things. We worked for VitaQuest, but when you make certain foods, you have to have flavor, texture, and appearance as well. So you have to make it thick. So you gotta put something like either cornstarch, either tapioca, either arrowroot. No, no es bueno, pero te digo que se usa para. It's not good. What they use in the market. Tapioca is made from the cassava plant. They take away the liquid, but usually that's what they use in the stores. That's what they use because the difference between each fiber that makes that texture is the taste, and sometimes how rapid it reacts. For example, guar gum. I don't know if anyone heard of guar gum before. You put like a little teaspoon in a recipe, and it would put that blender, the whole blender, very, very thick. It works really quick. It reacts with water. But if you take, actually, one time I did an experiment. I took actually 3 tablespoons of guar gum and I put it in the blender. And the blender couldn't blend it. It actually got so hard that it was too thick. I thought they were joking when they said it's really strong, but it is a really strong thickening agent. We have pectin, you have guar gum. A lot of yogurts have now xanthan gum. You ever heard of xanthan gum before? Xanthan gum. All the vegan melts have it. That's the tricky question. If you have a leaky gut, it's not really healthy for your leaky gut. Because xanthan gum is made from dead bacteria.
What is the leaky gut?
Leaky gut is when you can't digest well the food. Cuando no puede digerir bien la comida. It helps make it thick because, for example, you just have almond milk and you put it in the store, it's gonna be like water.
Yeah, it's gonna be settled.
And it's gonna settle, exactly. So the xanthan gum actually helps join the water with the seed.
Can you make yogurt with chia seeds?
I made a pudding with chia seeds. You can make pudding. You can make a yogurt with chia seeds. I don't know how the taste would be. I made a chocolate, but it's not chocolate, it's carob-based pudding by using chia seeds, guar gum, water, and a little bit of almond milk. Very good. I made it only once. I want to make it again. But it was very simple. You just take it, you put it in the blender with the chia seeds, you put a little bit of guar gum until it gets very, like, a little thick, you put it in the refrigerator, and all of a sudden you have pudding. See, Mom says, le quedó bueno, means it came out good.
What exactly makes, because you said the ingredients for the yogurt, right? But what makes it a yogurt that kills with
the probiotics, you mean?
Yeah.
So you have to buy either the vegan capsule probiotics, you buy the capsule, which is an expensive way of doing it because they sell the little tiny packets that come with probiotics for making yogurt. It's called vegan yogurt starter kit. Well, the first step is to make it thick. You can make it step by step. It would be you can actually make yogurt just with coconut, with the coconut, you know the young coconut? You just take young coconut, you put it in the blender, you put the probiotics. After you take it out of the blender, you stir it with the probiotics, and you leave it in a cabinet, dark cabinet, overnight. The longer you leave it, the more acid it's going to be. It's going to be more rancid. The less you put it, it's going to be less acidic. And it's going to continue to grow these bacteria, even in the refrigerator, but at a slower pace. But these are healthy bacteria. But yeah, you can make it actually at home. Very simple. It's not that hard to do. It's very good for the intestine. That's a healthy way of helping the intestine. Also, another healthy way is taking chia and making your yoga that way too. Chia, chia, chia. I think we have to leave it here, right? Because it's already 5:30 almost. Before you guys, I can leave the questions for now. If you guys have, I think I answered most of the questions for now.
Yes, one more question.
Oh, we have questions. Okay, good.
Now, what kind of natural food you take to help your dementia?
Oh, dementia. So dementia, they did a study with coconut oil. 1 tablespoon daily of coconut oil helps slow down the progression because of the acid, the fat it has, that it helps slower the progression of the dementia. But at the same time, if you are suffering from cholesterol, you take coconut oil, they actually go up. So you have to check, at the same time you give someone coconut oil, you gotta check the cholesterol levels. 1 tablespoon daily. You could look into the studies, coconut oil and dementia. It was only one lady that did the study, I think. It was only one patient, but... Oh, aceite de coco muy bueno para el cerebro, se pone una cucharada diariamente. ¿Me está escuchando? Okay.
What's the remedy for hallucination?
Wow, a lot of prayer and fasting. But because of hallucination, we have to go in to see if it's schizophrenia. Because we had the person that had the demon in the Bible, that he would throw himself in the water and the fire, was someone that suffered from schizophrenia. But there's 4 hormones in our body. You know what the 4 hormones of happiness are? Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. Those are the 4. Dopamine, when it's high, it will give you hallucinations. Dopamine comes from an amino acid that is from aggressiveness. So they're neurotransmissions, exactly. So usually, in these cases, we have to lower the consumption of soy, we have to lower the consumption of everything animal, and we have to eat a lot of green. God told the king of Babylon to eat 7 years green. 7 years. Daniel 4:33. And we have to do a lot of prayer and fasting. And also there's different herbs that help, relax a little bit. There's GABA, but you gotta be careful with certain herbs that you incorporate. Not herbs, supplements. That's a supplement. GABA, I know if everyone's ever heard of that before. Ginkgo biloba will activate the circulation in the brain. If someone is with those type of hallucinations, it could be induced also by medication too. There's medication that causes hallucinations as well. So we gotta check that. You gotta check
Could be that it's not living according to what
also could be that you're not living according to what you're preaching as well. Sometimes it could be the Holy Spirit, all these things. And Satan goes inside the small door, Mom says. It's very true. And he sits down there like a king. And he says, I'm the one that is the king here. I'm the one that controls you. We gotta forsake Satan in the name of the Savior. Tell me. And
Does green tea induce good sleep?
I'm sorry?
Does green tea induce good sleep?
Green tea, if it induces good sleep. The problem with green tea has something that does the opposite. It's called caffeine. Some people stop coffee and they green tea, very small amount. You can check. There's green tea and there's black tea. Black tea has more caffeine than green tea. But green tea has, I would say, I can't be quoted on this, but I would say it has less than 1%, but it does have caffeine. Very small amount, but look into it.
Even
go to the back first, and then I come to the front.
What is the difference in what mentioned in the counseling, diet, and food? She mentioned about tea. So now we are drinking like herbal tea.
Herbs is different from.
So when she mentions tea, she's mentioning black and green tea and other teas that stimulate the nervous system. When she mentions teas, she also mentions that she would purchase from certain people something that's called red clover. She said, I would always go, I think, to Maryland or some place like that. She would always request, Michigan. She always would want someone to bring red clover from the fresh. There's certain places in her books that she recommends teas. But the teas that she mentions are the ones that have caffeine. Because she mentions in the same chapter, she mentions caffeine and how it's very damaging to the body.
There's also decaf.
So herbal teas have no caffeine. Herbal teas, for example, chamomile has no caffeine. They won't alter your brain or affect any other part of your body. But it's kind of confusing because she says teas. But it's the tea that she's mentioning is those type of teas. Usually they call the teas, they call them, you boil them with water. I forget, infusions they're called sometimes. Infusions are a little bit different than teas. Old English, it's all Old English. I'm sorry, we're going to go first here, and then we'll explain it now. Give me 1 second, this is the...
Many people are drinking decaf coffee, and the things that they put in there is worse.
We'll go to it, okay? We go. Chamomile tea? Chamomile tea is one of the only herbs that has no contraindication with any medication. You can take it when you're pregnant, you can take it when you're a baby, you can take it when you're a toddler, you can take it when you're an adult, when you're old. Anytime you can take chamomile. That's the best herb. Even if someone is lactating or giving breast milk, you can even take chamomile. It doesn't interact with, and it will actually it will relax, and it's very beneficial for numerous things, for sleep, for mood swings, for menstrual cycle, for constipation, many benefits. Okay, and we talked about caffeine. Let's go to caffeine. Decaf. How do we get the caffeine out of the coffee? How? Chemical. We have to put a chemical reaction. So what we have to do is we have to do an extraction. The extraction, you have to put an alcohol in order to extract it. To dissolve this coffee bean, you have to grind it, and then extract the caffeine. When you extract the caffeine, you have the caffeine at the bottom, but at the same time you use a chemical to take away the caffeine. So you can never take away 100% of the caffeine. There's always going to be a little bit of caffeine. It's actually worse sometimes. Sorry. The coffee.
One question.
Huh?
Hydration, about water. What is your take on like Kangen water or pH water? I don't believe in that.
I don't believe in it neither. The reason why is the following. To maintain a pH in the water, you've got to use sodium bicarbonate. And sodium bicarbonate will pick up candida very quickly. If someone takes very alkaline water, you have to put sodium bicarbonate, because what happens? You can have alkaline water, and you can take it naturally by just lemon will make it, it will help your body absorb it better. It will actually make it a little bit more acidic, but it will actually neutralize the acidic in the stomach and alkaline your body. But the problem with alkaline water that is bottled already, it has to be with sodium bicarbonate to maintain the pH for long periods of time.
They use like the Kangen machine that costs 4,000 to 5,000.
Yeah, there's people that use that as well. Depends how you do it. There's alkaline water that can be beneficial for short periods of time.
Just a short period.
But I wouldn't do it for a long time.
Like everyday people drink it.
Because what it does is you're going to lose a lot of ions, because there's certain ions, for example, calcium is acidic in a watery environment, and magnesium is alkaline.
And also, like Dr. Mercola said,
Yeah, you need
just
to
the
study.
food. So if you're always drinking alkaline water,
Mhm.
so
You're always you're gonna change the acidity of the stomach, definitely. Tell you, brother.
Even chocolate, Cadbury,
They say dark chocolate.
dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
They also contain caffeine.
Dark chocolate has caffeine. Everything, chocolate,
Cadbury,
coffee,
Kit
Kit Kat has caffeine.
Kat,
But they have another ingredient. You know what the other ingredient is called? It has theobromine. Theo means God. Used to be used as a god in certain places. And it actually influences the mind, chocolate. Theobromine. You can look it up. It's called the food of the gods. It used to be called Theo in Greek means God.
it's not good.
Chocolate, I won't recommend. Carob is better. You can make a very good carob treat, combining it with almonds. You can make a very carob. C-A-R-O-B.
Carol.
one more question. I think there's so much confusion between, like now it's being very popular. It's a fad, like this ketogenic diet, and people taking these pregnancy hormones to take care of the appetite or the craving. So, is it healthy to be on a keto diet? It's very popular for weight loss.
What we have to take into consideration is that God says there's only one way to cure.
Through the Genesis diet.
It says in the book of, if I'm not mistaken, ¿dónde dice eso, mami? Ana, ¿dónde dice que hay solamente una forma que el cielo aprueba de sanar? Ministry of Councils on Health. She says there's only one form that heaven approves for healing. Page 135? 135. Only one form that the Lord approves for healing is through the simple 8 laws of health.
Amen.
But the only issue with that is that we like to, sometimes when we go through different situations in life, and we try things and we say it's not working, we lose patience.
Yeah, we want a quick fix.
We want a quick fix, yeah. The problem with all these different diets, there's so many diets out there that are even unknown still to some professionals. There's even diets that just eat chocolate every day, or there's a diet, you can make a diet right now, only eat chocolate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, chocolate, and you'll lose 5 pounds in 5 days.
Of course,
Because you're not eating anything else. Or you can even say, there's the water diets.
they have like California diet. It's like anything that's 1,000 or lower calories, that's starvation diets. Obviously,
You're gonna lose weight, yeah, because every...
food like this amount for a year.
Of course you will lose weight.
Very high fat.
When we lose weight, we have to lose weight healthy.
Yes.
Just don't get a lot of corn.
There was an article recently. There was this boy who grew up from the age of 7, now he's about 34. He ate only potato chips and French fries.
Oh my God.
Till now, and he became blind.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
That was the diet.
Maybe that's deficiency.
Wow, I would not take that diet. There's no vitamin A in that diet.
Yeah.
There's no vitamin A, there's no zinc. The person must be 20-something right now. He must be very small too.
Yeah.
Stunts growth. Something that is a big issue too with the youngsters is that we're not sleeping enough.
Yeah, oh yes.
We have to sleep more.
Yeah.
I have to sleep more.
Me too.
Let me know.
What's good for belly fat?
Belly fat.
Women have belly fat.
Right here, this right?
Yeah.
We gotta go to the secret.
Exercise. Exercise.
Over here, what do we have in this area? Colon. We have also a fat. Your body is very, very smart. Your body does not want to let go of anything. So if you eat a lot of food, say for example, you eat a lot of fatty food, your body's going to say, I don't want to lose this fat, let me keep it So it puts like paint. It keeps painting and painting and painting and painting and painting. It's like the wall. When you paint so many times, the wall begins to fall. That's what happens with the stomach like this. So the easiest way to burn fat is through exercise. Also, another way of burning fat is with omega-3s, help lose fat, hydrotherapies, because you're sweating, you're also able to release those toxins in the body. But exercise, exercise, exercise. And also, if we go to the bathroom every day, at least 2 to 3 times a day, you'll feel that you actually lose those pounds. There's people that do something that's called colonics. Colonics should be done always by a professional that knows what they're doing. But when you do a colonic, you can actually see a person lose 5 pounds right off the spot just by doing a colonic one time. And you can see all that poop go through the tube, and you actually lose 5 pounds. You can actually lose that at least, as you saw, we could store at least 40 pounds of feces in the core.
Diet.
Diet, diet, diet. So what we're going to do, medical missionaries? We're going to eat healthy. If someone asks you,
Exercise. That's it.
eating eggs are healthy, they're complete protein. But, no, but they are complete protein, yeah. I shouldn't say that.
How about
But
organic egg?
they are complete protein, but you could live off without it. Because in school, that's what they bombard me. When I was in school, they said you need supplements all your life. When I was in school, and they would use those excuses, for example, that's a very, very popular statement. Eggs, you need eggs because they're complete protein, they're the easiest source. Whoever has studied in taking their masters and all these different recommendations, they always recommend eggs. Because eggs is a very strong, actually the very interesting thing about eggs are a complete protein, but you can't call eggs a healthy food. By USDA, the egg industry wanted to call eggs healthy. This is a healthy food, and they actually told them you can't call eggs healthy because of the cholesterol they have inside.
Yes. 300 milligrams.
Yeah, so it has cholesterol, 300, and then they come up with all these studies to try to prove that eggs are healthy. But I was bombarded in school so many times. When I would sit down, the professor would say, here's the vegan. And then they would tell me, what are you eating? You don't be careful. You gotta take care of your body. You gotta eat, always take a vitamin B12 supplement, always, all your life. But vitamin B12 could be found in the foods that you take naturally organic. But it's what the culture says. This country, in the United States of America, we eat a lot of cheese and eggs and chicken and dairy, and there's so many different things, but it's the easiest and the cheapest.
What about egg white?
Egg whites have less cholesterol than the egg yolk, because yolk has more cholesterol because of the yellow tinge. But the egg whites are, when they did the study, they did the study that was that they took the fat that's still present in egg whites is healthier than the egg yolk, but either way is still inflammatory. You could look into the study. The study was done for 25 years or 15 years. It was a nurse's study. They took a group of patients. They studied them to see how they would have heart disease, and they compared the patients that smoke. You do what we call a T-test. A T-test is where you compare statistically how one point affects compared to another point. I don't want to go too much into statistics, but. And they found that when you smoke 4 cigarettes or 5 cigarettes a day, it was the same amount of mortality compared to a person who ate an egg once a day, every day. But what happened? You could look for that study. You could put eggs like smoking. It was found in the video What to Health. Para el estudio de los huevos. Comerse un huevo equivalente a fumar 5 cigarrillos. Eso fue comparado con un estudio que cogieron un grupo de pacientes comparándolo por 15 años, 15 a 20 años, comparando su mortalidad comparado con personas que fuman. Y encontraron que tenían la misma mortalidad. But there's a lot of studies, not only that one. There's another study that says they compared patients that ate eggs and prostate cancer. And they found that people who consume eggs due to the high hormones that are found presently now in eggs, it actually increased prostate cancer in patients. They also checked it and found that not only prostate cancer, but also ovarian cancer and also breast cancer.
What is the conclusion of the...
But it's still not solid. It's not a solid study yet.
What is the conclusion of the normally the study, the most recent?
I haven't looked at the most recent one.
It increases the chances of getting prostate cancer.
Sube el riesgo de tener cáncer de próstata. Sí, raises the risk of having breast cancer. The thing is that I lost my. I would show you it if we go into the study right away. I don't think we could do it today. Can we do it today? Should we do it today?
What's the best remedy?
Do you want to see the proof? So you don't only believe my word?